We're here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where thousands of Americans are turning out to protest Donald Trump's lawless ICE raids, and it is an amazing turnout here. If you are seeing this video, gosh, then I guess we've broken through the algorithm, because the algorithm has been trying to suppress us all week here in Minneapolis. Hit the follow button, hit the share button, and stay updated as we continue documenting the on-the-ground situation here in the region. Let's keep speaking truth.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. We welcome our friends in South Africa, the United States, and around the world to this week's edition of A Conversation with El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan. I'm pleased to be your host, coming to you once again through the Salam Media Network out of Johannesburg, South Africa. Salam Media is an online portal for humanitarian journalism. We don't just report the news, we advise you on what you can do about it. Today's hot topic is titled Murder Under the Color of Law in Minnesota. And that little piece of video that you just saw gives a glimpse into the kind of conversation we're going to have today. Minnesota, and especially Minneapolis, has been on fire with pushback, with nonviolent pushback from the community because of, I should say, as a result of what happened a little over a week ago. Today, we have a very special panel of women. We're going to be joining us for conversation on this very important topic. Our guests will be Dr. Nadia B. Ahmad. She's a college professor and a Democratic Party activist. She's been on with us before. Our sister Shafeah MBalia. She's a community activist and a prominent member of the Imam Jamil Action Network. She too has been on with us before. And our sister Khalilah Sabra. She is a practicing attorney, an immigration law attorney. And we added in the 11th hour another guest from upstate New York, Jeanne Finley. And we're going to begin our conversation with Jeanne. So let's bring her on, Brother Sadiq.
Hello, Mauri.
Hello, Jeanne.
Hello,
Let me say to the audience, I came across a piece of commentary that touched me so deeply that I said, man, we've got to have the author of this commentary on. I haven't seen Jeanne in quite a while, but she is still doing what she does. This commentary, it touched me so deeply. I said, you know, if I can't get her, I'm going to read it myself. But alhamdulillah, we have Jeanne with us today, and we want to begin the broadcast with her. Please share the commentary that you wrote, Jeanne, in response to what that tragedy that unfolded in Minneapolis.
Well, thank you very much, Mauri, for having me on and the opportunity to speak with the guests and to be able to speak my piece here. I wrote this on Facebook, which seems to be the best place to put things on quickly, and got many different responses, including yours. Mm-hmm. Here's the essay. Before asking some important questions, I want to relate what I believe is a standard part of being female in this country. Every woman I know, any age, has been advised to do this when in a situation in her car that alerts her to possible danger. 1, lock doors. 2, roll up windows. 3, remember that you already have the biggest escape route possible. You're in the driver's seat, so drive away from the danger. It's instinctive. I do it reflexively. You just want to get away, no confrontation. Keep that in mind when viewing the videos of Renee Good's murder. She, apparently given her personality, didn't roll up her driver's side window. She conceded to talk with the ICE agent who was screaming at her to get out of the fucking car. But she did lock the doors. That's why the agent was frustrated, since he couldn't accomplish the scenario that every woman I know strives to avoid: a stranger getting into your car, or worse, a stranger hauling you out of your car against your will. And Renee's partner, Rebecca, filled in the last part. Drive, baby, drive, she said, which Renee began to do, away from the danger, not toward it. Why would she do that? Seconds before Jonathan Ross killed her. What would you do in a situation like this? Questions I want answered ASAP. 1. Why did the ICE agent demand that Renee get out of the car? What did she do to warrant exiting her car? 2. Why didn't he just tell her she was obstructing their cars and tell her to move her car? 3. Why did the ICE agent physically pull on the car door handle to try and open the car door, thereby upping the perception of danger on Renee's part? 4. Why didn't the other ICE agents close to Jonathan Ross approach him during the confrontation, since he was the one checking out her license plate and car, according to his own body cam video? 5. Why didn't any other ICE agent fire his gun in either self-defense or in protection of Ross, who by this time was not near the car? 6. Why didn't Ross fall down if he was hit by Renee's car? If he was hit and got treated and released at a hospital, as per news reports, produce the records. 7. Why did Ross step in front of the slowly moving car, which was headed away from him, not toward him, instead of staying where he was? 8. Why didn't Ross use a taser, as he had in the past at the previous confrontation where he was dragged? Why didn't he shoot out Renee's tires? 9. What did the three other ICE agents do after Ross shot Renee? No videos? 10. Why did all ICE agents obstruct medical help from attending to Renee after she was shot? 11. Why was Ross not put on administrative leave after the shooting, as is standard practice for every law enforcement entity in the country after a shooting? P.S. There's no such thing as absolute immunity for federal employees or law enforcement. There's qualified immunity, which means they can still be sued, although it's difficult. Witness Trump convicted in New York State. The vice president needs to read the federal statutes probably for the first time before he opens his mouth again. All this is a scene from a snuff film where we're not supposed to be able to tell the difference between fantasy and reality. A verbal interaction, and then out of the blue, a shooting at point blank range. Man smokes woman. The audience gasps, thrilled. The car continues with a dead foot on the gas down the street and crashes into another car and pole. The shooter says, "Fucking bitch." And the audience gets what it paid for. A friend asked me on Facebook, why did ICE shoot the lady? thereby posing the biggest unanswered question so far. I answered that nobody really knows yet. I can add now, you'll have to ask Jonathan Ross. So far, no one has. Why not?
Thank you, Jeanne. Before we go to our first commercial break, a number of days have passed since you wrote that thought-provoking piece of commentary. I mean, again, it touched me deeply when I read it. You raised questions that should be on the minds of any thinking and caring person in this country of ours, often described as the land of liberty and justice for all. It's still a fabled land. In the days that have passed since you wrote this, has anything changed that has caused you to think a bit differently or deeply about this initial piece of commentary that you wrote?
Yes. There are a couple of developments. The biggest one, I think, has been the New York Times publishing online, and you can get it very easily. It's without the paywall, whereby they take all the existing videos, both from bystanders and witnesses, as well as Jonathan Ross's body cam, and run them together as a timeline, a coordinated, synchronized timeline. By doing this, you get as much of a 360 view as is possible, given the parameters of each person stationed where they're stationed, of the whole incident before, during, and after. And that, to me, really nailed this situation pretty amazingly. You see where the car was positioned. You see where the agent was positioned. One of the biggest things there was the noise of a thud right before Ross drew his gun. And when you look at this whole video and you come to that point, you find out what it was. And this is critical for the government's interpretation, and which is a kind word, I believe, of the whole event. There's a thud. The government says that's when she hit him with her car. That was not when she hit him with her car. She didn't hit him with her car at all. It was that the agent was leaning physically at an angle on the hood of her car. The street was incredibly icy. As we know here in upstate New York, and anyone who lives in the north, streets get icy real fast. It's very cold in Minneapolis. The thud was him dropping his cell phone on the hood of the car, which apparently was a flip phone, and it flipped its hood or its covering back on. That's the thud. Just a second beforehand, you can see him leaning onto the hood of the car at quite an angle, and he slipped. And therefore, the phone came out of his hand, kind of landed on the hood of the car, and that was the thud. Of course, everyone who has a cell phone knows that those microphones are pretty live, and it's going to sound pretty bad if you drop your phone, which is what he did. That was the biggest issue for me, and that nailed exactly what happened. There have also been a couple of other developments. One that I think has not gotten much play in the media whatsoever. And I am questioning why, because it throws everything up in the air. The medical examiner, the coroner that did apparently the autopsy on Renee Good's body, said she was shot 4 times, not
Yeah.
3. There
Yeah.
were 4 wounds, not 3.
Mhm.
So is this going to be the magic bullet from the Kennedy assassination? Where did that 4th shot come from? Was it a bullet that traveled and then made another wound, or what was it? That is a big new unanswered question.
And clearly unnecessary and excessive force
Yes.
was used. I want to thank you for joining us today, Jeanne, on such short notice. Thank you for joining us. And at this point, I don't know how the weather is in upstate New York. I can imagine it's very cold and maybe snow and ice on the ground.
Yes.
But yeah, please enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thank you for joining us, for being with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. Brother Sadiq, let's take our first break, and we'll come back on the other side.
Our brothers and sisters in Palestine are enduring unimaginable hardships. Ashraful Aid teams are on the ground, delivering crucial aid to those in need. But we can't do it alone. Palestine is suffering, and they need your help. Your support can make a world of difference. Visit www.ashrafulaid.org today and donate to bring hope, relief, and healing to those who are in need.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031-208-9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings, from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
More than 800 million people around the world live in deep poverty, uncertain of where the next meal will come from. For those on the brink of starvation, a food pack means survival, dignity, and hope. Send food, send kindness. Be the reason a family does not go hungry. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Hey Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bye, you didn't.
Oh no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, our topic for today is murder under the color of law. And we want to continue the conversation with our 3 guests, Dr. Nadia B. Ahmad, Sister Shafeah MBalia, and Khalilah Sabra. Assalamu alaikum, my sisters.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah.
It's good to have you all on with us today for a very important and tragic topic. Much has happened since Renee Nicole Good was murdered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Much has taken place over the past days. There has been intensified, well-organized, massive, but well-organized and nonviolent demonstrations of protest demonstrations that have unfolded not only in Minnesota, but in other parts of the country. And a good starting point would be to ask each of you what your thoughts are on what took place and what has been transpiring since that tragedy unfolded in Minneapolis. Let's begin with you, Dr. Nadia. Unmute yourself, please. Go ahead. You're still muted.
There we go.
Okay, let's go with you, Sister Shafeah first. Let's go with you first.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. First of all, thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this panel and your show, brother. We so appreciate your stances historically and on this current topic, your courage with political prisoners, with Sister Afia, and standing for human rights for all. Your courage is respected and your consistency is respected.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, sis.
I think that is particularly important in these times. In looking at the murder of Renee Good, it signaled, I think, the next stage of the escalation and intensification of going from authoritarianism to fascism in the United States. The willingness to unleash an independent a quasi-military force. It's not the actual military. And the decision by the current regime to intensify even afterwards and provoking even more widespread resistance. I think that we have entered another period in the United States of America that is quite dangerous to all. Anyone who is thinking of justice, anyone who opposes the actions that are happening, it is a very dangerous time. That is a dangerous time for all people who love justice. I think that the attack on the people of Minneapolis and spreading to Minnesota is a signal that the regime is trying to send to quell any resistance. And I think that it is quite important that resistance be shown, especially at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that opening thought. Sister Sadia, Nadia, I'm sorry, Sister Nadia, what are your thoughts, your opening thoughts on this? And this is coming from the perspective of someone who is both an academic and also a political activist with one of the two major parties. What are your thoughts?
So I think one of the things is to go back to the day before all of this happened, which is January 6th, 2026. And on that day, the Department of Homeland Security announced what would be one of the largest immigration enforcement operations it was ever going to carry out. And so what they did is they sent over 2,000 federal agents to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area in the middle of the winter. And they call this Operation Metro Surge. And on that morning of January 7th, when this happened, the ICE agents were in a residential neighborhood in South Minneapolis. And so DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who's come under fire for a lot of what's happened, noted as well is that some of the vehicles had gotten stuck in the snow. So they really had this large police force that was sent to the area that wasn't really even equipped to handle the weather conditions in this area. And so also think some of the issues with the snow and ice were also come into play as well, because you saw that that neighbors at this situation right before it happened, they were standing guard because there was a dual language school nearby, and the parents were in the process of dropping off their kids. And so Renee Good herself had also just dropped off her son to the school. And so when all of this happened, she was just on the way home from school. And so and also, as our previous speaker had noted earlier, is that there wasn't just the camera from the police officer or from the ICE agent, but there was multiple video angles of what happened and what transpired right afterwards. And the New York Times also went extensively into looking at this evidence. But also seeing is that when the first shot was fired, it went through the windshield, and then the other two shots were fired through the open driver's seat window. And then the last words before the shooting happened, she said, Renee Good said, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." And so in all of the general like de-escalation tactics that police officers and ICE agents should be trained with, none of that happened to really de-escalate. So not just from what a woman should be doing in her vehicle when she's facing a threat, but also from law enforcement in terms of what they should be doing as well to de-escalate. And so immediately right after, Vice President Vance went on to say that there was absolute immunity for the ICE agent as to what happened. And so I think that's where we're at right now, is what is the justice afterwards?
Mm-hmm. Well said. And Sister Khalilah, you come at it also from a unique and valuable perspective. You are a practicing attorney in the area of immigration. You specialize in immigration law. What are your thoughts on what took place on that fateful day and what has transpired since?
Most of my time, thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it. Most of my time these days are spent attempting to get people out of deportation or out of detention centers, and it has become overwhelming. But I think Americans have to ask themselves about the underlying foundation of what we're supposed to believe and accept. We all remember that phrase from the Declaration of Independence: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The first of the part of this phrase says life. We have a right to be protected in our persons and to have life, and law enforcement must enforce these rights. And we should expect that no harm will be done to us, no harm will be done to our neighbors, and that things are facilitated justly before the law. So if we can forget everything else that we've seen or what we've heard in the last few months, we should realize that not just immigrants are being targeted, but ordinary Americans are not safe. Someone just like you, someone just like me, someone just like all of us, with a family to take care of and responsibilities. Now, if freedom to assemble and to protest against the thing we believe and still be shot, then it's okay to shoot anyone. And to hold, and we have to hold that person accountable for exercising, whatever crimes are committed against the person, because we have to have our constitutional rights respected. If it's okay for an agent to shoot anyone without cause, then, and without justification, then where's the justice? Without civil rights, there can be no justice. And without justice, there's simply no freedom. All of us should pause and look at what we are seeing right now on the streets in every city. People are in fear. Even if someone looks like they are born from somewhere else, then they can be stopped by an ICE agent. America is a cross-racial, multiracial society. No one is exempt. I mean, no one can tell or even consider where someone is from by the basis of their look. That's impossible. So that means anyone can become suspect. And that's the danger, not just for immigrants, but for Americans, from anyone that's existing in this country, including people that came here for an education, that have now been banned. No one is safe. But when you look at it objectively, who is the state? We're the state. We're supposed to vote for what we want to empower and when those powers should be taken away. That's in order to make us safe. Do any of you feel safer? Do you think your children are safe? I don't think so. Unless this situation, I really praise people for going on the streets and protesting. I would warn them to protest in a way that brings them no harm, to protest peacefully, exercise their rights, to protest on the streets or to write letters or to whatever it is you have to do to be an advocate for those who are unable to advocate for themselves. But at the end of the day, we give that power, and it's our responsibility to change that power so that it meets the needs of the society.
Indeed. Thank you for that. You know, the Philadelphia District Attorney and the head of the Sheriff's Department happens to be a sister with the last name Bilal of Philadelphia. Both sent strong messages of criticism to ICE. Then we have in Minnesota itself, we have Governor Tim Walz and the State Attorney General Keith Ellison, who have also sent strong messages, along with the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey. In response, I just saw a report that the Department of Justice is reportedly investigating Walz and Frey for quote unquote conspiracy to impede immigration agents. They're being investigated now because of these statements of criticism, of condemnation, legitimate, justifiable condemnation they've made against the way ICE has been behaving in the streets of Minneapolis and other parts of Minnesota. What are your thoughts, sisters? Any one of you?
I think what it does, it impedes other citizens from coming forward. These people that are on the street,
definitely the objective. Right, I'm sorry.
The people that are protesting in the streets, they understand very well that they could be harmed. And they're willing to lay it all on the line because they're afraid or concerned about all of us losing our freedoms. And I think we should all seize the opportunity to do something constructive, and I don't think that we should be penalized for it. To accuse any political leader that's in opposition of what you believe of being a criminal or being treated as a criminal, it's wrong. There's no justification for that. And if we allow the courts to penalize these upstanding citizens for voicing their opinion, then we lose our voice altogether.
Indeed. There has to be as much pushback as possible. And one of the encouraging things that I'm seeing is that this is one of those moments in the United States that has really touched the nerve of the everyday folk. Everyday folk. I mean, it has touched the nerve to such a degree that it's, the citizens that are exerting pressure on principalities to do the right thing. Sister
I'd like
Nadia,
to
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Nadia.
No, please go ahead.
So I wanted to just build on what Sister Khalilah, just raised this question of the recognition of law by consent. That law is a product of consent, and it is clear that, and it is a product of the ability to enforce that consent or dissent. And we are looking at a time period where it's really ironic that here it is that in a country where states' rights has traditionally been used actually against the people, and the federal government has been looked upon as looking out for the rights of the people, that not only is the Department of Justice going after the state officials who are attempting to defend the people. They've also just got word that there are 5 attorneys in the Civil Rights Division who've just resigned, as well as I think there's U.S. prosecutors in Minneapolis, I believe, who have resigned because I think it's the DOJ has also said that it is going to investigate the widow of Renee Good. So what we're looking at is what appears to be the world turned upside down, and that those people who are, reportedly supposed to be enforcing the law are actually turning the law and refusing to enforce the law of the people. And we have seen, particularly for this last 12 months, the escalation where various parts of the government are refusing to enforce. And I think that, Khalilah's and your statement, Brother Saalakhan, about this question of resistance to enforce, to call for the enforcement of law impervious to the color, the gender, the background, the birth, no matter what, but the rule of law. And what we are looking at is a systematic destruction of the rule of law within the country. If there's no prosecution, if there's no investigation, much less prosecution of the agent for shooting Renee Good, then that sends a message that anyone can be target practice, that all bets are off. And so it is incumbent that resistance has to be, it is a defense of the people. I do want to, just go back a little in history, or just, establish some things. I hate to use the term immigrant. I despise that term. Why? Because unless, and I don't want to use this in terms of stereotypes, but to make the point, unless you are related to Pocahontas, Geronimo, Running Bull, and all of those indigenous people who were here, then whether you came here willingly or unwillingly, you are quote unquote an immigrant. And so it is the height of hypocrisy and white supremacy to label some people immigrants and other people not. How dare you? That just sends me just off the deep end. So I want to put that that historical context. Number two, I also want to say that this is also the state that up until 50 years ago looked the other way when the laws of Jim Crow were enforced across the board against Black people, and practically anyone, but particularly Black people in this country. And thirdly, I would like to point out that there appears to be a concerted strategy to keep all of us divided from each other. That it is imperative that all of us from all walks of life. See, I love how folks in Minneapolis have said, my neighbor, you are violating my neighbor. We as Muslims, we know that we are responsible for how we treat our neighbors. But so it is our neighbors, regardless of where they come from, that it is imperative for us to protect. And so I think that there is an underlying human right for us to be able to stand and as Muslims show model behavior about how we should, as well as we are commanded as Muslims to stand forward and fight for justice and to raise the question of the human rights and the civil rights and the law that should be applied to everyone. And we're not just talking to Muslims, but the point is that this is a time period where we must look broadly and we must, encourage in the most principled way, not in a way that helps people defend our neighbors, defend our co-workers, defend our church members, defend our church family, our mosque family, our daycare and co-parent family. That this kind of message has to be pushed across the land. And I think, and it is our responsibility as Muslims to help promote that and to model that. And I just wanted to, throw those things out, building upon what Sister Khalilah and Sister Nadia, the points that they are making, in terms of the law, as well as, the U.S. law, but raise also the international law and raise the ultimate law.
Sister Nadia, your thoughts. Thank you for this.
Thank you. I wanted to build on Sister Shafeah's point about how anybody can be shot. And when Renee Good's killing had happened, at that point, that was the 9th shooting by ICE since September of 2025. And so ICE has opened fire on people in 5 different states, as well as Washington, D.C. And 4 other people have also been killed in federal deportation operations. And so and also noting is that even after the shooting had happened in Minneapolis with Renee Good, a week later, there was another shooting that happened where ICE agents shot another person there. You had a Venezuelan man whose name was Julio Cesar Sosa Celes, who was shot in the leg. Basically, ICE had been chasing him around for an hour and a half, and they finally caught up to him when he had reached his house, and they shot him as he was entering the door. And there was also a small child in the house at the time that this happened. And so I think it's important to see as well that that it really is open season. Like things like this are bound to happen, and the fact that ICE has escalated so rapidly, it's important to also note that the Department of Homeland Security was actually formed after September 11th, and so this rapid deployment and the amount of budgetary expenditures that have gone into DHS as well as ICE over the years have really compounded. And this big, beautiful bill that really is pumping like millions, billions of dollars into border control is not something that even a later administration is going to be able to downgrade, because this border control, border security is really just metastasized. It's just really grown and snowballed in the past several decades. And then another point that I also wanted to bring up that that you mentioned about the Jim Crow South, as well as that is that just this idea that somebody cannot be prosecuted and that there's automatically immunity because of what has happened, is that that's just patently false. Like no legal expert will say that, Vice President J.D. Vance is just categorically wrong, that there's no such thing as absolute immunity for federal law enforcement officers, especially when they use deadly force. And another thing to also note as well is that states have been prosecuting federal officers since the 1880s. And even in the early 1990s, Idaho prosecutors charged a FBI sniper with involuntary manslaughter when he killed an unarmed woman during the Ruby Ridge standoff. So that's not something new that happened during a Republican administration. And the federal court allowed that case to proceed. And then another thing to also note as well is that the charges that are being brought against the widow, there was over 6 federal officers in the District of Minnesota who resigned because they said that the Department of Justice had really pushed this investigation where they were investigating the widow instead of investigating the shooter. And another thing to also note is just kind of looking at it from a legal perspective, like you have federal charges that could be brought, but then you can also have state charges that could be brought. And then law professor Carolyn Shapiro has said that if Agent Ross is actually convicted on state charges, and these could be brought by the state of Minneapolis, those cases that are not brought in federal court, President Trump is not able to pardon him because if they're brought at the state level, because the president can only pardon federal crimes and not state crimes.
Right. Absolutely right. On that note, let us go to our final commercial break, Brother Sadiq, and we will finish up on the other side, inshallah.
When Allah calls, a journey begins. Join us for the Hajj 2026 Nusuk Packages Open Day, designed especially for South African Hujjaj. Meet our special guest, Engineer Ahmad Zaki, Director General of Direct Hajj, Rawaf Mina, joining us all the way from Mecca to guide you through the Nusuk processes, available Hajj packages, and provide one-on-one assistance. Sandton, 17th January, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Cape Town, Durban, and Lenasia, 18th January, 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Secure your place on the sacred journey today. Call 010-600-5786. Plus, one lucky attendee will win an Umrah ticket. T's and C's apply. From the heart of Mecca to the world. Your Hajj journey starts here.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Gaza needs your support more than ever. Homes have been shattered and families have lost everything. With your support, our teams are delivering clean water tankers, feeding the hungry, and assisting orphans who have no one left. Let us give Gaza whatever help we can. African Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Again, welcome back. If you're just joining us, our topic for today is murder under the color of law in Minnesota. I knew this hour would go fast. In our final minutes, I'd like to hear from each one of our sisters, for them to share their thoughts on whether or not you feel optimism, given the what appears to be the transformative nature of this crime and how it has impacted the heart and mind of so many people in this country. Again, there have been thousands of people taking to the streets, not just in Minnesota, but in other parts of the country as well. Thousands of people in each of these demonstrations in different parts of the country. A tremendous amount of pressure is being brought to bear. And I don't know about you, but it gives me reason for optimism. What about you, Sister Khalilah? What are your thoughts? Your final thoughts on today's?
When I look at from historical viewpoint, I know that freedom began by saying no. Whether you were brought here from Africa, whether you're Native American, whether you came to this country seeking a better life, freedom begins with saying no. No to oppression, no to abuse, no to having your rights eliminated. And we have to say no. The governor of Minnesota, he said no. Keith Ellison, he's saying no. I think other politicians should stand up and join them in saying no. The Trump administration can't indict everybody. So everyone has to do their part, no matter how little, no matter how big, stand up and say no, no more. That this cannot happen to anyone else. And the injustices have to be corrected. That's the only way we're going to solve any problems in this society.
And Khalilah, one of the other things that this repressive administration has been doing, selectively going after quote unquote immigrants of color. European immigrants in the United States are not being targeted. And while immigrants of color have been targeted in very systematic and vicious and systematic ways. A question that I have for you, sister, before we go to our sister Shafeah, is what they're also doing is they're targeting immigrants that are in the country legally, that are legally here.
That's right.
How much independence is there among immigration judges? How much real independence do they have?
They don't. They're not independent. Judges tend to rule based on the administration. If it was one way after Biden, it's going to change. It changed with Trump. Judges seem to cater to the administration, and that is what makes people vulnerable. that denies people their rights for justice. And if they come to a court system thinking to have their case heard, it's already been decided. If judges are predisposed to base their opinions on the administration, go to Charlotte, for example, 5% of the cases heard before the judges are approved. 5%. These are all Black and brown people. It makes you vulnerable. It makes all of them vulnerable. I don't care if that person's from Honduras or they're from Palestine, regardless of where they are from, who they are, the color of their skin makes them vulnerable. And that's not right. Not right at all.
Absolutely, it is not right. Sister Shafeah, let's hear from you. Your closing thought.
I think that I am so glad that we are pointing to that there are people in the street across the country and that people are watching closely and learning the lesson. I think that it is no accident, by the way, that one of the first moves by the Trump administration was to fire a whole slew of immigration judges, even though they say how the immigration system is understaffed. But that was one of the first moves that they made. Resistance has to take all forms of positive and building and ways of building. Letters, pressure needs to be put on the Congressional Black Caucus, who have not opened their mouths in a collective manner. Support for the progressive, the Congressional Progressive Caucus increased. You know, pressure on local city and county officials for a non-compliance and or figuring out how those organizations at every level, you know, they're national organizations of elected officials at every level who analyze and come out with policies and directions and support for each other. And we have to identify and part of resistance is writing to them. We need to look at every kind of way. You know, I was talking with a lady yesterday who is works with a network of quilters who have been doing historical research in anti-slavery in New York. And I said, get all of your quilters to do anti-fascist quilts, right? To send the message of no, that we are not going along with this. And I think Khalilah's point is that we need to find every way, every possible conceivable, tiny, huge way, and everything in between to say no. And that will be the only thing, and organize it in an organized manner. We must have organization. It is critically important that we help neighborhoods and communities build the infrastructure and link them together to give support to each other in an organized manner.
Absolutely. Sister Nadia, you got the last word.
It's really important for us to demand accountability. We should support the legislation that was brought forward by Senator Ed Markey and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, which was the Qualified Immunity Abolition Act of 2026. What this would do, it would allow for victims to sue federal law enforcement officers for civil rights violations. And so it's important that we demand support for this legislation. And I think this is something in terms of a positive development, that this type of legislation is being brought forward. It's really about turning the tide on this scourge of racism, as well as anti-immigrant sentiment that has been really rampant across the country. And then the final thought I have is that we should really act to protect the vulnerable. That's part of our duties as Muslims as well. And the Quran is very clear as well about this duty to protect against oppression, because it doesn't really matter in terms of what country you're born in or not, whether you're undocumented or not. It also doesn't even matter if you're a U.S. citizen, because Renee Good was an American citizen. because the citizenship isn't going to save us. Because when the injustice comes for anyone, it comes for everyone.
That's right.
That's right. My dear sisters, I want to thank all three of you and our sister Jeanne, who opened the broadcast with me today. I want to thank all four of you for the contributions you made to a very important conversation. And inshallah ta'ala, the struggle for peace through justice, both here and abroad, will continue, inshallah. So may Allah ta'ala bless the rest of your day. And on that note, we'll close out as we normally do. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi kusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amalu salihat. Wa tawassaw bil haqq. Wa tawassaw bis sabr. Which means, in the translation of the meaning, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, by the token of time, through the ages, surely humanity is in loss, except those who believe and do good, and exhort one another to truth, and exhort one another to patiently persevere. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.